Trustee Wajowski.
Here.
Trustee Benucci.
Here.
Trustee Lamb.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here. We could rise for the pledge.
Presidential comments?
Only thing I have, it's about our homecoming parade that was last Saturday. It seemed to go off quite well. I just felt sorry for all the Cub Scouts and that marched there and just got soaked. So maybe next year will be better. That's all I have.
Trustees' comments?
I just had one comment. I know Mr. Murphy and Mr. Abel wrote a letter, I think, to the community and the school recently regarding the unfortunate incident up at 119th and 248th Street involving a vehicle and a Plainfield North student. So thank you for that. I know there was a couple residents that had called and voiced concern about the lack of continuity between the sidewalks in that area. And I think your letter addressed some of that. But I guess I just wanted to take it a little bit further. I know back in May, we had talked about the Public Works, the ITEP application, which was basically the sidewalks roughly downtown area. And, you know, there we were going to spend, I think, $2.6 million total, over $1 million at a village to replace some existing and add some new. And I guess it just goes back, I think, from my concern at that time, I think I voted no for that one at that time. And part of my concern is the input of the board. I think it's part of us to have input on policy, and I don't know that we're getting a lot of that input. So in other words, if there's sidewalks to be installed and we're spending over $1 million, maybe it's worthwhile to have a little bit more discussion on where that money gets spent. You know, whether it's replacing existing or whether in this situation it might be used towards adding new sidewalks that create connectivity, especially around the safety issue as opposed.
Trustee O'Rourke, you say the board doesn't have input. Has anyone ever censored you when you are speaking, to the extent no one ever gave you a time limit? They, you know, when normally under Robert's Rules of Procedure, you have 10 minutes to speak. Has anyone ever censored you to say, I don't want you to say any more? You could have had all the opportunity in the world to discuss a situation like that at all opportunities. I don't think anybody here has ever stifled anyone.
If you're asking me.
No, excuse me, sir. I haven't given up the floor yet. If you have a situation that's something that is disgruntling, you should discuss it not only with the administration and bring it up to the board. But I don't think anyone's ever stopped you from discussing a thing.
You're asking me about my input if I've ever been stopped. I guess I would argue a little bit that yes. I think, and what I'm referring to is really the idea of having discussion probably more in the cow meeting than it is. I think a discussion is different than a vote. So in other words, things come forward for vote, and it's kind of yes or no, and there's a couple comments you can make during the vote process. But at that point, the motion's already been made, already been seconded, and we're getting ready for a vote. And I'm talking about conversation or discussion before it even makes it onto the agenda for a vote. And I think that's where the policy gets set, not whether you vote yes or no. At that point, it's kind of late in the game.
I continue to regress to the same point. Number one, no one ever stopped you from speaking at a committee of the whole meeting or have ever stopped you from speaking at a board meeting. There is no time limit on what you could say other than a basic 10 minutes initially, but if you have the opportunity, you could continue to speak. I think you should just perhaps align yourself and get your priorities in order, and when you're ready to discuss something, do so. Thank you.
Well, I think this is trustees' comments. I don't know why you just can't accept my comments for what they are, comments.
Fine. I think there's an opportunity,
Why do you
sir.
always feel
Excuse
why
me,
do you
sir.
always feel like you have to
No,
go
I'm
directly back
I'm
at
not
me every time I
attacking
make a
you. I'm
comment?
not attacking you.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay.
Excuse me. I'm not attacking you in the least. I'm only rebutting what you're saying about the administration and about this board. It's a disparaging remark made not only to the administration, but this entire trustee board. I don't think anybody's ever stopped you in the least, and that's, I'm going to let it go with that.
How
until
easy
you
is it
say
to get something on
else.
the agenda? Let me ask you that question. I'll ask you, Mr. Radich. How easy is it to get something on the agenda, a topic on the agenda?
How to get something adopted on the agenda?
A topic on the agenda.
Bring it up with the administration.
On a lighter note, thank you to the Joliet Catholic students here.
This is government at work. Sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes this is what you need. This is open discussion. In a few minutes, we'll have public discussion for anybody who wishes to say anything. It's a good civics lesson that, though we can't always get along, we do everything for the good of the public. In this case, the good of the village as a whole. Both of their hearts are in it. I know both of them personally, and they both firmly believe in what they say. I also would like to thank all the moms and dads and boys and girls who got drenched on Saturday. It was cold, and I'm sure many of us got colds from that. I agree with the mayor that hopefully next year things will be just a little bit nicer. Thank you.
If I could make one comment about, I signed an awful lot of agendas for students from the Joliet Catholic Academy. I think the majority of them last Saturday night. I went with my wife, Diane, to her 55th reunion from Joliet Catholic Academy. It was a wonderful school in 1961 when she graduated, started in 1957. I guess that's 4 years to 61, and it is an outstanding academy right now. We had an individual speak to us at the dinner, telling us about the exciting developments at the high school, and I'm really proud of you people, and you're going to get a great education because I know you're going to get educated tonight too. Thank you for being here.
I'd like to thank everybody involved in the homecoming planning. You know, the committee puts in hundreds and hundreds of hours into that for the community to enjoy. And despite the rain, it really turned out very well. And people were pretty hardy, and all the marchers stayed, and that was good too. And, you know, within minutes, the streets were cleared, things were put away, garbage was picked up between Public Works, the police, and everybody else involved. It's really amazing how fast that all turns around. So thank you, because I think that's something the community really enjoys. And John, I usually don't do this, so I'm going to ask you a question, though. You may be the one to answer. The trolley barn building, do we have an update on that? I mean, those areas that are wide open, I think they were just asking for trouble there. You know, kids are going to wander, somebody's going to wander in there and stuff, the big huge sides of the west sides of the building that are unfinished. Do they have plans, or do we know what their plans are? And if you don't know, you can tell me later.
Staff is actively working with the property owner there, and he's been great at communicating with village staff on his progress relative to both construction and also leasing activities. So we have open dialogue, communicate, I would say at least weekly with the property owner. I know the building is secure. There is an alarm system on the building. So with respect to safety and security, the building itself is secure. Construction is ongoing on the roof replacement, and the owner is preparing to undertake construction on the West Plaza patio area, which will be entirely privately funded for a patio amenity or patio enhancement. So I know activity will be picking up on the East Addition, which is where the property owner's business itself will go. I think his attention has been focused in the recent past on getting that to the point of being able to move in, and I think he expects to be able to move that business in from Chicago to here in Plainfield in a matter of weeks, so hopefully sometime this month.
Thank you.
I have a couple of comments. One, first, left Trustee Beducci and Trustee Wachowski in the rain. What happened? Because I ended up dry, believe it or not. I didn't, just barely sprinkled on.
That's nice.
You were
I
alongside the car.
It's nice. I walked the parade route in reverse. Thanks.
Anyway, I was curious because, you know, it's like, it drew out beautifully for me, perfect timing and all that. But I've got another. I said some things last week, and I guess I'd like to follow through. I'd like to compliment Trustee O'Rourke first because he was correct and I was wrong. The last time we rewrote the sign ordinance or updated it was 2008. We did not do it this year, as I said. I thought we did. But anyway, let me provide a little history. Mayor Collins can back this up because he was also part of it. The sign ordinance came about because we completely rewrote the zoning codes in 2003 to 2005 period. The mayor was part of that, I was, and 5 others. We spent more than 2 years rewriting the entire codes. The board formally approved those in 2006. As I recall, and the mayor may want to comment on it too, that there was a lot of thought that went into the sign portion as we looked at pictures of other towns, and it helped us form the view what we wanted, what kind of signs we wanted to encourage in Plainfield. Because signs, you know, are a very visible part of a town, and we want to make sure that it fit with what we thought Plainfield should be. If you take a look at the ordinance, and it's now 13 pages in very small print, but 13 pages, it has lots of details to provide to ensure consistency as Plainfield developed. For those who haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's online. The village board got a copy of it today at my request, because I got a copy and everybody on the board gets something that I get too. So, recent history, the last formal changes were added in 2008 with Ordinance 2797. That limited LED signs to 24 square feet and a minimum change frequency of 8 seconds on the signs. The LED signs were required to have dimmer control, and the daytime intensity was limited to 5,000 nits, whatever that is. I hope somebody understands how you measure that. But the nighttime one is actually 1750, so it's less than 40% of the daytime lighting. So we do have some standards to try to meet. I did a little survey of the LED signs we have in town. It's by no means a complete survey, but just to give you some feel for what we actually have, there are 2 huge billboard signs on Route 59 north of 127th Street. They're all LED, change every 8 seconds or so. If we had a choice, would we approve them again? I think not, but it turns out we didn't have a choice. We couldn't stop the last one being converted, so it's still there. The Plainfield East High School LED sign is about 40 square feet. The St. Francis Church in Bolingbrook has a new LED sign, but it's about 10 square feet. McDonald's LED sign on 59 is about 10 square feet. Mark Peters Jewelry is 28 square feet. The Aldi sign, which is near 135th and 59, is about 25 square feet. The library sign is overall 35 square feet, and the LED part of it is 21 square feet. United Church of Christ LED sign is about 18 square feet. One thing which is bigger, but it's not in Plainfield, the Bolingbrook billboard, if you will, on Napier Plainfield 111th Street is 80 square feet. So it's a pretty good sized sign. It's put up by a billboard company like our great big ones are. Additional comments I would make based on my survey: LED signs in daylight are visible at 1 mile, even though you can't read them at that distance. One of the signs that's being proposed is about the size of my garage door, which is 56 square feet. That's a lot of sign. Illumination spillover in parking lots, we closely check that, and it comes true in the car wash coming up. Before approving the plans, we make sure there's no spillover to the neighboring area and so on. We need to take a look at how that LED signs impact that as well. We may also need to specify the minimum distance from neighbor property to an LED sign. 200 feet may not be enough if we have a sign that goes 24/7. We've had a lot of talk in the past about noise, 150 feet, 250, 100, distance from a business that makes noise and drive-through, that type of thing. We also have people complain about lights and drive-through. So these are some things we need to take a look at. And let me quote, maybe not absolute quote, but Trustee Ratchick: "Decisions made in haste, you regret in leisure." I don't know if it's quite a perfect quote, but something like that. And go back to Trustee O'Rourke too, if we need to improve variances, we got to change the code. And so I recommend that the staff and Plan Commission review the sign ordinance, what we have now, and update it for the village board approval. And I understand we may be discussing this in an upcoming town meeting, like next week. Is that true? So it's a good time. I just wanted to kind of give you the preamble, show you where I was coming from. I helped to write the sign ordinance. We put a lot of effort into it. I think it's important that we find a way to be consistent in the way we implement it throughout town. We ought to be fair to everybody and so on. So, thank you.
Are there any other trustee comments? Not. This would be time for public comments. Come to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Robert Zeller. I was here last week. Last meeting, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that I'm here about that pedestrian bridge between Renwick and Fort Beggs Drive, all right? If you look through the drawings, and I know I said this before, but if you look through the drawings, yeah, there is it is relating to the water, all right? So the Army Corps of Engineer, and I spoke to Julie Himberg, okay, in LaSalle Street in downtown. Anyway, so the rock is in the slope rock is in the water, all right? So therefore, yes, it's the Army Corps of Engineer, okay? Whether they deny it or not, she said she didn't close the investigation. I don't know who else was here. I heard a lot of people here tell me they did, but I didn't hear nothing about that, okay? So, what I want to say is, you put too much fill in there, okay? And these houses in back of the river are just going to flood. They're flooding already without that backfill. But now we got a hell of a lot of backfill. Okay, then you got a berm too. I don't know who put the berm up, but you got a berm there too. And a berm holds water back. Okay, and anything that holds water back. And I went to the water resources. Let's call him, I forgot his last name. His name was Rob, all right? But he's going to run an investigation too, all right? Because I don't want to pay for that bridge. I pay taxes in this town. I mean, and why should I pay for that bridge? Okay? All right, thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
Go ahead. I'll wait. Hello, I'm Father David Meadow. I'm the pastor at St. Mary Immaculate Parish in Plainfield, who are asking about a sign. I appreciate the research that you've done and the effort that you've put in terms of writing the ordinance as it presently stands. I think if it were important always to stick to ordinances on zoning, then there wouldn't be any provision for making variances, and occasionally there are. One of the things that I would say is the difference between our situation and the other businesses and organizations that you mentioned with signs is that we're much larger than all of those. The volume of traffic that we have, our research shows us that we're about the 5th largest Catholic church in the United States. We have over 8,200 families that are members of our parish, over 100 ministries. And so even a small sign wouldn't even allow us, that would meet the present code, would not allow us even to list completely at one time all the liturgies that we have on a weekend. So as far as our neighbors, we have talked to our neighbors immediately adjacent to our south, and we've worked out an arrangement, much to their satisfaction, where we will make sure that we place bushes, shrubbery, whatever they're going to pick, to make sure that there is no encroachment of light on their property whatsoever. Also, it seems that what the situation that we're in is the ordinance as it presently stands would penalize us because of the expansion of 59. The present location of the sign as proposed is the last place we would have wanted to put it. There's not enough room on the amount of land that is left to us because of the widening of the state land that's there now, plus the slope that goes down. There's very little land available to us. If we put it where we wanted it to put it, or where it originally was, in the middle, we talked about building out an island so that we, but to do that, we would lose the west lane of our parking lot, which helps people to get from north to south. And in order to reconfigure our parking lot, it would cost us several $100,000 in order to accommodate that reality, really totally reconfiguring the west side. And to accommodate the realities, and in a community spirit and for public safety, in dealing with the realities that the needed expansion of Route 59 brought to us, at our own expense, and obviously with the help of the village, but at our own expense, as you know, we installed a traffic light for public safety, just because of the volume, not because we want to stop traffic to read a future sign, right? Just because of the volume of traffic that comes in and out, because we have thousands of people using our building each and every day, and many, many, many thousands over the weekend. So I think you're right to be concerned about consistency, but because of the size of our parish, the need, and because of the encroachment of the state, right, onto the property of the parish, we have really no option other than to place that sign at that location. And given the size of our parish, we just felt, in consultation with a local professional in terms of signs, he felt that this also was the most appropriate given what we need our sign for. So we've worked very hard to try to be a good neighbor, to be a good citizen with this whole thing. And I appreciate you sharing where you came from. Thanks.
Well, from my point of view, I appreciate your comments. You answered a lot of the concerns that I have, because I took a look at the neighbor one, and as long as the neighbor, you're going to put something that protects the neighbor, because it's a big sign 200 feet away from them. It's not where you'd want it to be. One of the questions, I agree the sign ought to be in the middle if at all possible. And is there any chance, I understand somebody talked to IDOT, but you know, we have trouble talking to IDOT, so I can imagine you all would have even more trouble. Did we get involved in that discussion with IDOT at all? Could we use IDOT property to put up a church sign or not?
We did explore that. I'll interrupt real quickly. That was something that we explored very early on, was to see whether or not there was some consideration from IDOT in light of the fact that they were taking the land. And
We weren't any more successful than anybody else.
we got a traffic light.
Well, that's good. Well, all that said, I do support you having a sign, and I will support the variance here tonight. I just wanted to bring up some issues which I think we need to make sure we're careful going forward, because I can see a lot of other people coming and say, wow, we did that, we want it too. And I think we need to, if we're going to do that, we need to be very careful. It's a conscious decision, policy decision on the part of the board, and that's what I was trying to prompt tonight. So.
Well, and two things. One, I've indicated to Mayor Collins and to Brian Murphy, again, to be good citizens and good neighbors, we're happy to run appropriate PSAs on our sign for the village because of the location. I think it's a key location where we could do that. The other thing, if there's other, our sign is big enough. If other people want, we can run some of their messages too. So,
it will be big enough.
But
That's true.
It's right to ask those questions, and I'm glad that I could be here. And thanks for listening to
Okay.
the
Well,
answers.
thank you for responding. Appreciate it.
You know, Mayor Collins, may I make a comment? Of course. It's interesting that this discussion, this is primarily for the trustees here tonight. With the American Constitution, the original 7 articles and the following amendments were brought about because the people is a living document, and excuse me, it's needed for changes and desires of the people. That's the American Constitution, and it has been amended a great number of times because of the desire for change. I think, you know, Trustee Lamb has spoken very eloquently in regard to his discussion of the ordinance, the sign ordinance, and the amount of work he put into it. But it is still a living document that possibly needs change. And this is one illustration where it needs change. I spoke last week or the week before, whenever, I forget when I spoke. I got a good memory, it's just short. But with the amendment, the changes, we as a board have to bring about change. When society says we need a positive change that's not illegal, we have to discuss it and say, is it for the betterment of the individual who's presenting it to us? And I said, in this situation, I say yes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jim Sase from the Villas of Fox Run. I have a problem with a gas line that comes from my attic in front of my water heater all the way down on the ground floor. And if someone could tell me that that was code, I'm fine with it. But if I want to go and change my water heater, it's going to cost me twice or 3 times as much to have all this pipe changed and moved. This thing comes right in front of the water heater, all the way down about a foot from the ground.
I'm going to interrupt you, sir. Our chief building official, who's normally here at these meetings, isn't here this week.
Alan?
No, that would be Ken Goska. But what I'll do is I'll ask Steve and Randy or John to get your name and phone number and contact information, and we'll follow back
All
with
right,
you.
thank you very much.
Are there any other public comments? Not, then we'll proceed with the business meeting. We're seeking a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Trustee Rassich? Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. We're seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda to include minutes of the board meeting held on September 19th, bills paid and bills payable reports for October 3rd, resolution number 1732, appointing Tracy Pleckham, Management Services Director, as authorized agent of the Village of Plainfield for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve items A through C under the consent agenda. Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Trustee Rassich? Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is St. Mary Immaculate Parish sign variance. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3279, granting approval of a variance for a monument sign in excess of the maximum height and area, including electronic message center area for St. Mary Immaculate Parish, located at 15629 South Route 59.
That's my motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
I would like to agree with Father David that variances are there for a reason. And I do appreciate that y'all have spoken with the neighbors about the issue, because it's the primary concern of every variance that comes before us. I look forward to discussing with you guys the possible change or reformation of the sign ordinance as well.
Are there any other comments or questions? Not. The motion was made and seconded to adopt ordinance number 3279, approving a sign variance for St. Mary Immaculate Parish. Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Wash U Car Wash. Seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt the findings of fact of the Plan Commission as the findings of fact of the Board of Trustees, and furthermore, to move to direct the village attorney to prepare an ordinance granting approval of a special use for drive-through operation for the proposed Wash U Car Wash to be located on a portion of Lot 2 of the Prairie Creek North-South First Subdivision, subject to the stipulations noted in the staff report.
My motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions?
I have one comment, but reading through the materials and not being at planning, one of the stipulations was about the color variances and trying to keep it into more neutral tones. But I want to caution us, when it comes to a company's branding, I don't want to take that right away from them too much, because that's what people look for lots of times, no matter what the store is or what the business is, the branding. So I would support them keeping their blue and their things like that, and not, taking it away. So just a comment for later.
I just have a comment or a question, I guess, for Jonathan, just for confirmation. I guess the changes that you suggested have been accepted and made by the applicant.
That's correct. Staff has worked extensively with the applicant. This has been kind of a short fuse project. They're hoping to get under construction yet this fall. So there's been, I would say, daily or near daily coordination since the time they filed with the planning staff here, Mr. Melrose, who's been working with the applicant. Relative to the colors, if I can just address Trustee Benucci's comments, we feel staff's struck a balance. We made no objection to the use of the primary colors on the tower, the raised areas. We recommended introducing a cultured stone material on the tunnel, the lower central portion, as an effort to balance that. soften the overall visual impact, but still allow for the corporate branding. So staff feels that was a balanced compromise that was well received by the applicant.
Thank
And
you.
there was one other issue about the driveway. It said it had been corrected, but have you actually
That's
gotten a
correct.
revised?
So it is a fairly tight site north to south, and just for clarification, staff is seeking direction on an ordinance for the drive-through special use. Special use for the drive-through is required by ordinance. We will be coming back at the subsequent, the next meeting for site plan approval. We'd certainly welcome discussion on the site plan here this evening, but we have deferred any for approval of the site plan until the ordinance comes forward. But to answer your question more directly, yes, the applicant has modified the site plan to keep any curb returns for the egress points on the lot itself.
And then lastly, there was a rendering of the proposed, I guess, monument sign, but we're not voting on anything for the sign this evening, correct?
No, the monument sign is really for information only, is to allow staff to identify any issues. It's the applicant's intent to comply with the sign code as written, so a maximum sign area of 48 square feet, a maximum area of any changeable message board of 24 square feet.
Are there any other comments or questions?
Yes, I have one comment. With this particular situation, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 for total acceptance. The reason, obviously, the acceptance is the fact that, I really have to compliment Jonathan and the Planning Department and anybody who was involved in this. It's a perfect partnership between the petitioner and the Village of Plainfield. We want commercial growth, and this is a perfect illustration of commercial growth. It's local entrepreneurial individuals and other investors. I don't know who they are, but perhaps someone else. But what I just want to say, it's a beautiful relationship, and hopefully we can develop more in the future. Thank you.
Continue with what Trustee Rassich had said. I think this is actually a good location. In addition, it complements another business that's going to be right next door there. You have a car repair place, and a lot of times people get their cars repaired, they get them detailed, and vice versa. So not only are we going to offer more services for our residents, but it also provides convenience as well. So I think overall it's a great plan, and glad the Planning Commission voted 6-0, as Trustee Rassich had pointed out, and I'm supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Jonathan, I'm not 100% familiar with the car wash. Is it a 24-hour operation?
I don't believe so. I know the applicants are here and are prepared to answer questions, but I don't believe that's the case.
Sorry, just the one question. Is it 24 hours?
It is not.
Are the vacuum?
13 hours a day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
You have to come to the mic, sir. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Craig Nelson, WashU. The operations are typically 91 hours a week, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Same thing with the vacuums. The vacuums aren't on all evening.
Vacuums are turned off at the end of operational day.
Thank you.
Let me just pull in Trustee Ratchick's comment a little bit. It's not only a good relationship with us, but good relationship to the Bartels next door. They made some accommodations. They came in and supported this at the Plan Commission. And so that's the kind of working with the neighbors I think that really pays off. So everybody works together. We get something that we all have value for.
Are there any other comments or questions? Not. The motion was made and seconded to direct the village attorney to prepare an ordinance granting approval of a special use for drive-through for WashU Car Wash. Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Trustee Rassich? Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Administrators report?
None today.
Management services report?
Same thing.
Engineers report?
No report.
Planning department report?
No report?
Building department report? Public Works report?
Good evening. Public Works has 2 items on the agenda for the board consideration. They have to do with the upcoming winter snow season. The first one is the snow removal services. Typically, we've bid this out over the last 5 or 6 years. This year, we have 8 contractors that have accepted going with our program. We have the same unit prices as we did last year. And if you have any questions about the contract or anything else, I'd be happy to answer them.
This is the same level of service, same amount of contractors as we had last year, right? There's no reduction or increase?
Actually,
We have
there's
more
an increase.
contractors than
There's an increase.
we have more to select from.
Or to select from, okay, good. And I think the board was happy last year with the level of service we received.
Gives us more opportunity to react in a snow event faster. Let's put it that way.
Last year we had, and where you're probably picking up on this, trustee, is that we had some alternate contractors last year. We don't have alternates this year. Everybody's a contract.
I'm sorry, we had also talked, I think, about last year at some point about maybe part-time people coming in and helping out with the village. Did that ever go anywhere?
No, we didn't have any success with that.
Are there any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a few, unfortunately. Suggested rates, it looks like we provide a standard sheet and they all signed off on it. Is that? And the previous years, they all individually put in different amounts, and this is the first time we've had absolutely standardized ones?
Second or third year, I believe.
Second year, okay.
Second year we've done this. In the past, each contractor's been able to provide their own unit rate for whatever piece of equipment that we've spec'd out, but we wanted to have a little more control over that and provide some uniformity, that one contractor wasn't charging twice as much for the same piece of equipment, and it's a little more control for staff to manage the costs.
And we're satisfied. One of the companies here is one we had some problems with before. We're satisfied that they belong back on the list now?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, I just checking to make sure. One of the biggest problems we had before were the cul-de-sacs. Is there enough of the small front loaders or whatever it is that moves that to get that done?
Correct. There's a sample contract in the packet, and each contractor provided that, and in that they listed all the different types of equipment they would have available for us, when we call them out. So it ranges from bobcats to backhoes to 544 loaders, semi-dump trucks, the full gamut of equipment. So
We can get the job done with the package of service. You got a lot of suppliers, so. And one of the things I would suggest is that since you have so many suppliers, maybe after each event, if you will, rate them for the quality of the service that they provided, and the highest quality service providers get preference for the next event, if you will. Just keep that going. I think that's a good way of providing an incentive, if you will, and also guarantee that we get the best quality snow removal job. Okay.
On that note, what checks and balances do you have? Just so you can inform the public if you feel that a contractor is not performing up to your standard.
Well, each contractor would be sent out to a particular route, and we would be indicating what time, sending them out 2 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the evening, whatever time the snow event occurs. And then we have supervisors that would be monitoring that route just to make sure that they're there where they need to be, they're completed, and they're making the rounds and the routes, in the appropriate time. So we are more hands-on as far as monitoring that.
Very good.
And as far as the public themselves, we have a snow hotline, right? We have a telephone number that if anybody has any concerns, they can call 24 hours a day, and we get the message. So,
okay, thank you.
I do have one more thing on the sheet. It says, "Can you provide laborers?" Only one, as I read through, could provide laborers. Is that a problem for us? Do we expect a need for?
No, we've used more manual labor in the downtown in the past, but we have some specialized equipment that is suited for the downtown now. So when it comes to actually removing snow off of Lockport Street and getting it off-site, we're better able to do that now with less physical, shovels and snow blowers and things like that.
Okay, great, Bob. Very well thought out plan. Very good. Just hope we don't get too much snow to have to use it all, but. We have a motion yet, or not?
Are there any other comments or questions? Not. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to authorize snow removal services as required and accept the unit prices provided by K&D Enterprises Landscaping, Winiger Excavating, Inc., Antrex, Inc., Acres Group, John Green Excavating Company, Shreve Services, Fazio Landscaping, and Beige Excavating for the 2016-2017 winter season.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Trustee Rassich? Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you. The last item we have has to do with the road salt purchase. The village has participated in the state purchase program for many years. This year was no exception. We got a very good price of $45.58 per ton, which is about 27% less than last year. The quantity of salt we're looking to purchase is up to 6,000 tons. Typical season will go through 4,000 to 5,000 tons, but we are looking to have the authority to go up to 6,000 in case it's a heavier snow season than the previous years.
It's a good price and a good deal. Do we have a place to put 6,000 tons?
Yes, we do.
Get a hell of a lot better than we were paying, what, 117 2 years ago or something?
Correct.
It was 107. Yep.
Supply and
Bad
demand.
enough, huh? Okay, thank you.
This is the lowest price that we've seen in over 9 years. Actually, in 2009, we paid $57 a ton, and in 2012, we paid $53 a ton, and in 2013, we paid $50 a ton. So this is the lowest rate we've seen in over 9 years.
Do you have any existing inventory from last year?
We do have some salt from last year. Pardon me. We have about 1,000 tons left over from last year.
On this
Indefinite.
indefinitely. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Now we'd be seeking board consideration of a motion to authorize the purchase of up to 6,000 tons of road salt via the CMS state bid program from Compass Minerals America, Inc. at a unit price of $45.58 per ton.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Trustee O'Rourke?
Yes.
Trustee Peck?
Yes.
Trustee Rassich? Trustee Wajowski?
Yes.
Trustee Benucci?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you, that's all.
Police Chief's report?
No report.
Attorney's report?
No report, thank you.
Reminders?
October 4th will be our planning commission at 7. October 10th will be our next committee of the whole at 7. October 12th will be coffee with the mayor at 9. And October 17th will be our next village board meeting.
Seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That motion carries.